Alright, so in this video, I want to go over everything that we know about the Rover, Abby, and their relationship and speculate a little bit. And maybe plant some seeds in your head and, see your thoughts in the comment section. Originally, I was going to make this video just the Rover, but after learning about like the Rover and Abby basically being linked, I was just like, I might as well just put them together at this point. Okay, so here is the order and how I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna discuss everything that we learn about them in both 1.0 and the voice lines about the Rover, and then everything that we learned in 1.1 story. And if you guys have anything that I missed or anything interesting that you think should be mentioned from the side quests and world quests and stuff like that I didn't mention but you think deserves to be mentioned, just put it in the comment section. All right, let's begin. So we start the story with the Rover face to face with the goddess, and I have my own theories on this connection I'll get into another video, but for now I'll just say she may be something akin to a sentinel, but above the sentinels. Like the Rover may be the equivalent to what the magistrate is to the sentinels, but for this goddess. But for now, we know that the Rover is somehow connected to this goddess, and they seem to be the one to put this dimensional rift and Abby inside of the Rover. Not confirmed, but it definitely seems that way. I don't really think the Abby part, I don't think she was the one that put Abby in us, considering that I think the Rover actually found Abby on their own and absorbed Abby on their own. But the dimensional rift, it does kind of look like it's pretty clear and obvious. Like she literally punched a hole in our chest with her dimensional abilities. So yeah, the goddess also gave Rover their Tassin mark along with some little light cores, and then Rover got sent into Solaris 3, and we learn Rover has amnesia and doesn't remember anything before their awakening. But they do tend to see visions and get visions that could potentially be from the past or the future or the present. Along with the Rover's Tassin mark, it's pointed out in the beginning that they have a terminal, which means they're a resonator. Actually the first resonator. But the Rover sees a vision from the past, which is them face to face with Sentinel Jouet, which we learn later on that Sentinel Jouet considers Rover to be their master and the Lord Arbiter. So we'll get more into that later. Through the Rover's Tassin mark in connection with Abby, we absorb the crownless, and I'll explain this more later too. But when Rover through Abby absorbed the crownless, they saw a vision of the pre-awakened Overthrax Threnodian and the Dreamless protecting it. And remember that the crownless is a tacit discord close to the power of the Threnodian, so maybe the vision that we saw was actually a memory from the crownless. I'm not sure, but it also could be a memory from our past, who knows. But the group did say that it wasn't common, but it's possible to absorb echoes through your body. So I don't know which other characters would be able to do that, but yo, maybe we'll see someone with the same type of connection that we have between Rover and Abby. I'm interested to see other people with that type of connection, which I already have. I'll get into that into another video. My very next video, I'm gonna get into that. I do have one in mind. Like I have one in mind already. And then they bring up that in the comprehensive mirror of historians,
a celestial being descended, commanding the Tiankun's boundless power. Assuming mortal form, they condensed the primordial essence, creating Pangu. Cleaving heaven and earth apart, they aligned the celestial and terrestrial. Their radiance encompassed the four corners. Thus began the illustrious annals of Huanglong, as provinces were first demarcated.
And they speculated that the Rover is related to that being, which I think is the goddess. But for now, I'll save that for the next video. When we first see Camellia, she calls the Rover the seed of fate, which is interesting wording that like keeps coming up. Like they keep bringing up seeds, like when Jin Shi later on, Jin Shi also refers to herself as a seed at some point. Like that's interesting wording. And then when we met with Sanhua, she notes that the Rover's frequency is undistorted and authentic, similar to Jinshi, which could be because like the Rover is kind of connected to Sentinel Jouet, and Jinshi also has some of Jouet's powers, so maybe that's why. And Sanhua also gave Rover a pass that grants access to all of Jinzhou, which is funny because we learn later on that Rover literally made Jinzhou. like Rover literally established Jinzhou. Like if anyone should have the jurisdiction to do all of this shit like automatically, it should be Rover. But I'm getting ahead of myself. When Baiji gives the Rover a physical, she notices that we have a dimensional rift and like a little creature in our body capable of absorbing frequencies, which later on it's literally Abby. And then when we did the simulation training with Baiji, the pattern of seeing visions continue, and we see a vision of the dreamless. And Baiji says that based on how sonorospheres and remnant energies work, like we may have seen the dreamless in our past before, which does actually make sense. If the dreamless was a manifestation from the Overthrax Threnodian and we once fought it and it absorbed some of our powers, most likely we did fight against the dreamless in our past. Very similar to how we fought the crownless in our past, which we learned from info about the first resonator, which is clearly Rover based on the description. It's basically confirmed later too. This evaluation was back in the year of Wei, which Yang Yang mentions was several cycles ago, which I don't fully know the timeline of Wu-Wai yet, and I don't feel like taking the time to figure that shit out. Maybe someone else knows. I don't know. Y'all put it in the comment section if you know the full timeline. But the description is literally the Rover. Amnesia, tacit mark on right hand that glows, golden halo along with the eyes. Like it's literally the Rover. And they apparently ran an overclock test on bro, and bro just was like normal. There was no overclocking, which kind of makes sense because if he's above the Sentinels in power, like overclocking shouldn't really be a problem. But that's just speculation. Who knows? Like maybe the Rover gets a second awakening, like similar to how Jinshi was overclocking and got another awakening. Maybe. And yeah, it also says that during the Battle of the Gorge of Spirits, they fought the Crownless and won while standing next to Sentinel Jue. And then that same year marked the founding of Jinzhou. So like it's literally confirmed that's the Rover. But like it is weird that we had amnesia even back then. Actually, no, not really, considering that like we reawakened at the Black Shores. So I guess every time we reawakened, we do kind of lose our memories. So yeah, I guess the amnesia part does make sense. But why do we keep reawakening? Like even when we discover our past, we gotta discover the past before our past. If you understand what I mean. And we don't know if we reawakened before the past, after our past, in the past. Anyways, moving on, Abby says that they're hungry, and then the Rover sees another vision, but it's different because it's the present. It's a vision of the pre-awakened Threnodian and of what is currently happening on the battlefield. And I think it's due to our connection with Abby that we were able to see that, because Abby is able to kind of sense TDs, considering what we learned in Act 7 when Abby was able to sense Jue, which Jue is like a similar being to Abby. So like I'd imagine that if Abby's hungry and then Abby sends a signal of TDs that they sense nearby so that Abby can absorb them, I feel like yeah, they send that to Rover. It's like, hey, I'm hungry, please bro, like I don't know, can you not find Tacit Discords? Okay, I'm gonna just send you the location in your head right now. Like, I'm hungry, I need to absorb something now. And Rover even said that it felt like they saw everything through the eyes of a TD, which Abby is kind of like a TD, but that's just speculation. But Yang Yang also speculates that something on the battlefield may have a connection to us, which technically the Overthrax Threnodian has a connection to us, considering they have some of our power. So yeah, I guess she is kind of right. Anyways, moving on to Scar. Scar reveals to us that there are many different groups watching over the Rover, which for now we know the Jinzhou faction with Sanwa, Jinchi in them, and then the Fraxidus, Scar in them, and Frolova, and then we have the Black Shores with Camellia and Alto and Encore. And he says that we are the unknown variable that they've all been waiting for, so that's also interesting. And then we go to our convo with Jinchi, and she says that we may be the person in the records because of her memories from Jue, a unwavering presence by the Sentinel Jue's side, bonded by unbreakable trust. And so like yeah, it is probably us. It is confirmed at this point that it is us. And she says resonators do tend to live longer, but our age is unknown. Like the Rover's age is unknown, so the Rover could be like 1,000,000 years old or something. Yeah. Moving on, when Scar is getting arrested, he says that we are one of the black lambs that have been chosen to usher in the new world, and when we discover who we really are, we will join the Fraxidus with no hesitation. I'm gonna have to look for more info on that and like really pay attention to the story of like whatever could like really lead the Rover to wanting to join the Fraxidus. Like what would make us want to join the Fractus, and why did he say that so confidently? But whenever we get more info on that, and it makes sense, I'm gonna drop a video on that titled "Why the Rover Will Join the Fractus." Anyways, Jinshi told us that when we reawakened, one of the Black Shore's members contacted them for info on us, which is probably Camellia, considering that she was the most interested in us when it comes to the Black Shore. And we know from later info that when we reawakened the time before this time, it was on the Black Shore's base. So it makes sense that when we see a vision, we get another vision of us in the past talking to Jue, but we have a black bloom on. That it makes sense because like I guess I'd assume we were a part of the Black Shores if we reawakened in the Black Shores. So I'm sure we're gonna learn a lot of more like info, a lot of lore about the Rover when we go to the Black Shores Island. Shit, low-key, I wouldn't even be surprised if the Rover is actually the one who created the Black Shores, considering the Rover's whole thing is that they wanted to see with their own eyes and make their own decisions and you know, see civilizations thrive and stuff like that with their own eyes. And in order to like, you know, have those civilizations thrive, you need a group similar to the Black Shores that keep the lament in check and warn people about it. And then in our convo with Camellia, she says that the Black Shores will make us the most special seed of them all, which she did refer to us as the seed of fate. So maybe we have some type of manipulation over fate, who knows? And then she says that she felt something oddly familiar about the Rover, so I don't know. And then the Rover is just like Tethys told them, which is Tethys is apparently the civilization simulation sand table. So I don't know what that is. Maybe that is what is at the Black Shores or like underneath the Black Shores base. Because if you looked at like certain lines, like I think there's an encore line about it, that there's something going on underneath the Black Shores base, and she doesn't know what it is because they tell her that she can't go down there. So like I think that might be what it is, but I don't know. I'm not sure. So that's something that we'll have to learn more about later. Maybe Rover had a similar connection to that Tethys civilization sand table thing, like similar to Jue being their master or something. And then it was actually Alto that let us know that this isn't our first time like the Rover was awakened. This isn't the first time, and the last time was at the Black Shores base. He was the one that let us know, and he gave us a black bloom so that we can use that as a key to get into the Black Shores HQ. So when we get there, we're definitely going to learn more. And then later on, which is very interesting, Jian tells us that we possess a similar ability to the legendary hero, which it's already confirmed that the Rover is the legendary hero, but it says the legendary hero that once absorbed a Threnodian. Now, it's confirmed down there, but like when they say the Threnodian, I'm not sure if this is a mistranslation, and I don't want to take it as a mistranslation because they kept saying, you know, oh, the Crownless is the closest to the Threnodian, and we did absorb the Crownless. So I'm gonna take it at face value that we absorbed a Threnodian, and if that's actually true, I think Abby might actually be a Threnodian, and it would check out considering the info that we learn later on, but it's not confirmed yet. But if that is the case, I have a theory on that. I do think Abby is a Threnodian, or like was a Threnodian and like is now good because the Rover captured her. I'll get more into that later. Jian continued, he says, from one of Jue's prophecies, he was told that one day we'd come back to reclaim our lost power from the Overthrax Threnodian. And what they said, what Jue said exactly was, beneath the full moon, guide the returning one to confront the Threnodian, and from this threat itself, the Rover shall reclaim the power to conquer it, which is basically what happened during the fight with the Overthrax Threnodian and the Dreamless. That's literally what happened. The Dreamless was made from the frequency of the Threnodian and probably the power we lost. And when we fight the Dreamless, the Rover absorbs some of that power and gain the Havoc Rover power. So yeah, the prophecy does kind of check out. And then when the Dreamless was about to do their little self-destruct of Threnodian energy, Abby came out of our Tassin mark and absorbed the energy from the blast and went back inside of our body. So yeah, that's all the info from chapter 1, act 1 to 6, and I'm gonna go over some voice lines about the Rover right quick and speculate a little bit from those voice lines from these characters, and then we can go on to the chapter 7 info about Abby and Rover. So this first about Rover is from Jin Shi. She says, I can feel it in my heart that we both have something we'll fiercely defend, a cause worth fighting for, and we won't back down no matter what it takes. So her thing is protecting Jinzhou, and I think our thing is also protecting Jinzhou and the civilizations that we have watched thrive. That's literally Rover's thing, and we'll get more into that later. But that's the first about Rover from Jinshi. By the way, if I apologize if y'all hear the thunder in the background. It is what it is. Speaking of thunder, actually, the next one is Yinlin. Yinlin says in her about Rover, being skilled as a patroller doesn't necessarily make you suited for undercover work. But curiously enough, she sees potential in the Rover, and she asks if they've considered joining the Bureau, and then says she just kidding unless. But this is interesting because maybe, like, what if the Rover actually established the Bureau too? Because if the Rover established Jinzhou, wouldn't, like, it would kind of make sense if Rover also established the Bureau. And next up for about Rover, we have Don Jin, who says, you always act first in the face of injustice despite having lost all of your memory. You must have always been a righteous person, right? I'd be very troubled if it turned out otherwise. Like, when I saw this, I kind of viewed this as like foreshadowing of like, was the Rover bad before? Question mark? Or was they always righteous? There's the Rover, like, we need to learn more about the Rover's past. Did the Rover do something bad and that's how they ended up getting reset? Because remember, Scar did say once we learn what we really are and who we really are, we'll join the Fraxidus. And if that's the case, like, this line right here kind of foreshadows it a bit. Like, maybe we did something bad. I don't know. Anyways, but the next line is from Shishia, and she says, you don't talk much, but you're so strong in battle. There's a good old Huang Long saying, a cat that catches mice doesn't meow. Fits you perfectly. So I just this one I found interesting because it's kind of like the Rover is just aura farming. Like the Rover doesn't say anything, they just protect people. They just fight right here trying to max out aura. But other than that, there is apparently one from Yuan Wu, but no one fucking plays Yuan Wu to know, because it's his intimacy 5. And I don't have that shit. If anyone in the comments, if anyone like looking at the video, you know what Yan Wu says about the Rover, put that in the comment section, because I don't have his ass. I don't have his intimacy up. And not even the fucking wiki has his intimacy up, apparently, because they don't even have the line. So I don't know. Yuan Wu says something, but nobody fucking plays Yuan Wu, so nobody knows what he says. All right, moving on to Act 7 info. Abby pops out of our assassin mark, and we learn some info from Baiji about our connection. Abby is the space/organism that Baiji mentioned before in Act 2, or was that 1? I think that was Act 1. Abby shares similar frequencies with tacit discord reverberations. The same way you capture an echo in a terminal databank, the Rover's body acts as a terminal for Abby. So Abby is like basically the Rover's personal echo that they captured at some point in our past. And without us, Abby can't even manifest. Now, when you think about that part, it would literally be like a perfect way to seal a Threnodian. Would that not be? Like if you defeat a Threnodian and absorb it, it doesn't have that chance of being revived. You know how the Fraxidus revived the Overthrax Threnodian? They wouldn't be able to do that if the Overthrax Threnodian was absorbed by us, right? So if we need to find a way for them to not even have that option of reviving Threnodians, it would be like Rover captures them and makes them into their personal echo, and they can only manifest when the Rover wants them to manifest, right? Wouldn't that make sense? That would literally be the best way to seal them. So like low-key, this might further the theory that Abby is a Threnodian. Would it, like, I don't know though, but Baiji discovers more. She found like a new power source inside of us, which was the dreamless, like, Threnodian blast of energy that Abby had absorbed during the fight against them. And apparently the Rover can use that energy due to the convergent codependency between the Rover and Abby. Simply put, Abby and Rover are connected. They are two separate individuals, but their energies and vitals affect each other, and they even feel each other's emotions. So if Abby takes damage, we take damage. If Abby absorbed energy, we can use that energy. It's like a symbiotic relationship, and if Abby strengthens, so does the Rover, vice versa. Baiji also said that Abby isn't a regular kind of echo. She mentioned that there are also other highly intelligent echoes that act on their own in other countries. So maybe there's like a country that Abby is from and we just don't know yet. But like, you're unlikely to find any type of intelligent echo like Abby in Jinzhou. So like that confirms that Abby is from another country. Abby says that the Rover's body has sound isolation. So when bro is in there, they literally just can't hear anything. And when Abby is like, he's getting tired and sleepy because they haven't 8 enough. Regular echoes are usually powered by the terminal, but like he's different because he's powered by us, so he needs to eat. And then when we decide to name Abby, and Abby's name is actually Abby now, but he threw in the word Abraxas, which is very interesting. And some people that play PGR have mentioned that there's a book in the game that mentions Abraxas as well, but I don't know because I don't play PGR. So like, let me know in the comments if y'all like see something for the people that actually play PGR. But I only did a little bit of research on Abraxas. Is like a biblical Greek. It is there's a mythical meaning in Gnosticism. It's the great archon. So like, and there's a depiction, I'll put it on the screen. This doesn't look like Abby, but like Abby is definitely more significant than we think, or like that's why I think it's a Threnodian. I definitely think Abby is a Threnodian. But I need to do more research on the Abraxas stuff that I can't find. It's like weird. I don't know. It's weird. Let me know what y'all think on that. But moving on, Abby tried to use the same power that they used to absorb the blast from the Dreamless, but it didn't work. So we speculate that Abby can't control their power, or maybe it can only activate under certain circumstances. Now, if Abby is a Threnodian, right? Wouldn't it make sense that if we absorbed bro, and bro is a Threnodian, we like make some type of contract, we put some type of contract in place so bro doesn't use his powers in like cities, you feel me, and only can defend? Because like if you have a Threnodian as a echo, I don't know if you like, I don't know, because it's like a sentient being. Like, bro has his own type of personality. So what if his personality is, okay, I hate humans and I kind of want to blow up humans. Like, okay, for safety, let me set this contract. You can't attack in cities. But that's just my little speculation. Moving on, the rover got a dream from their past of being with the Sentinel Jouet on Mount Firmament helping people, which we learn more about later. Then the old guys noticed that Abby is a talking echo, and they mentioned a place called Rhaenys that also has echoes there that are incredibly intelligent and next level. So maybe that's the place where Abby's from, just maybe, but who knows. And when they say where Mount Firmament is located, Abby says that they sense a unique set there, which is Jouet. So from that, we know that Abby can sense other forms similar to them, like similar to like Jouet and Tacit Discords and stuff. And the rover also said they felt a unknown force kind of guiding them to go to Mount Firmament. My speculation is that maybe it's the light cores that the goddess gave us, and like it's kind of guiding us. It's been guiding us from the beginning of the game, so I don't know. Or like this goes back to maybe the rover has the manipulation of fate, and it's like this is something that's fate. I don't know. And then when we talk to Chung Li, she basically confirms that the rover is the hero from Jinzhou's past because she connected all the dots, and that's why she thinks we'd be able to help them on Mount Firmament, because records in the Grand Library speak of an individual that was able to go in and out of Mount Firmament unaffected and stood by the Sentinel, which is confirmed to be us later on. So like, yeah, she knows. And when we tell her about the dream that we had of Jouet on Mount Firmament, of us with Jouet, right, she literally says like that's in the Grand Library also. So she says it could be a glimpse into our past and a guiding light to the future, like the light cords. And then in the court of Savante ruin, we find documents of research on the Sentinel, and basically the rover worked with the court in the past to find ways to restore the Sentinel Jouet's temporal mandate. And the court was actually able to communicate with Jouet and like try to find solutions through the rover, which led to them making devices like the Chronos orders. But later on, they realized that in order to help Jouet, they need a resonator to get a second awakening to be able to handle Jouet's power in order to help Jouet, and the rover would have to be the one to command it, which is literally what happens in the Jinchi fight with Jouet. Like that whole section, that is literally what happened. And then when we talked to Jouet, they called us the Lord Arbiter, but like we didn't get the explanation then. We got the explanation later, and we just observed what Jouet and Jinchi was doing, and then when the right time came, we did our part. And something interesting that Jouet said is that they were curious about our choice this time to let Jinchi be the resonator to handle Jouet's temporal mandate. So it makes me think, like, assume that there might have been other resonators that could have done this, but the rover didn't allow Jouet to transfer the temporal mandate, but the rover is now allowing that for Jinchi. And the rover was also the key to opening the Sonora Sphere where they fought. And then when the right time arrived, Jouet asked for rover's permission to transfer the temporal mandate to Jinchi, and the rover allowed it, obviously, which then rover and Jouet did the transfer. And then later on, when we asked Jouet some questions, conversations, they explained that the Rover is Jue's former master and the arbiter. A arbiter is a person who basically settles disputes and has like the ultimate authority in all matters. So the Rover is kind of above the Sentinels, and they listen to the Rover, which actually we aren't sure if that applies to everyone yet, but the Rover is like literally akin to like a god, which, like I said earlier, I think Rover may be the equivalent of a magistrate to whatever the goddess is. And who knows, there may be more arbiters, like from the past, present, future, even in other worlds, there may be more arbiters. But moving on, in the past, Jue stood by the Rover's side as they established Jinzhou City, and Rover tasked Jue with Jinzhou's prosperity. And again, I wonder if that applies to the other Sentinels in the other cities in Huanglong. And Jue also mentioned that all of their knowledge came from the Rover, so I wonder if that also means the prophecy parts. And Jue said that Rover planned to take part in history and make choices and witness the development of civilization. And Jue had to ask the Rover's permissions to transfer their temporal mandate because that is how they are designed to function. Similar to my theory with Abby, if Abby was a Threnodian, that Rover like absorbed, it makes sense to set certain functions so like they can't use like, oh, you can't use your abilities in the city, like you're a Threnodian, you're too strong for that, you can't use your abilities here. And maybe that's why Abby wasn't able to use their abilities here due to the like unknown contract that they both agreed upon or something like that. Jue says that every ounce of their existence and even the passing on of one's power is subject to the Rover's approval. So literally it sounds like we own Jue, like a kind of the same relationship that we have with Abby, but not symbiotic. I don't know. And then when we summon Abby, Jue says that Abby is similar to them, but like different. And they don't know anything about Abby, but if Abby is in our body, we most likely granted bro access in the past at some point. And when you look at Abby and Jue, they both are creatures with like multiple tasks and marks and stuff. So it gotta be something there. I just haven't figured it out. Like maybe the Rover had a power to absorb the Threnodians and make them good and put a bunch of tasks and marks on them. I don't know. Similar to how maybe the Rover turned bad, and then that goddess at the beginning of the game, when she put the task and mark on us, the task and mark is meant to keep us stable so we don't have the memories of all the bad stuff that we did. If it's true that we will join the Fractidus, we probably did something with the Fractidus in the past or something like that. And then when you think about the Sentinels are kind of good versions of the Threnodians. So like, I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. Anyways, and finally, when the Rover asks Jue if they know anything, like any way for them to get answers about their past, Jue recommends that they go to the Black Shores and says that is where their journey started in Solaris 3. So next like patch or whatever, like whenever we go to the Black Shores HQ, that is going to be a big info dump, big lore dump. That is what I'm expecting at least. But that is everything that we know for now, and that is most of my speculations. And I'm gonna go over more theories in another video, but yeah, that's it. Hopefully I planted some seeds in people's brains and y'all think of something that I didn't think of, and if I miss anything, put it in the comments. But yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one, man.